My name is Lierop. I am the president and CEO of Chrysalix Energy Venture Capital here in town. And that's the topic I'm talking about. People need to understand that it will take time to go to a total zero CO2 environment, economy. That's very important. So, like Bobby, that is what I aspire. Unlike Bobby, I don't think that there is a magical switch where we simply can go from hydrocarbons to a total renewable energy economy. Why do I think that? Because we are on our way to a world with 9 billion people by 2050. And most of them want a life like you and me. We are all hooked on hydrocarbons. We're addicts. And most of the people who will join up to the 9 billion would love to be as hooked to hydrocarbons as you and me. And that's the tragedy. So now the question is, how can we, step by step, over the next 20, 30 years, move to a more friendly environment? How can we get rid of our addiction? And so what I'm saying is, it's probably not just going to come from renewables. I have not seen one scientific research report from anywhere in the world that tells us that with that growing world population, we can do without hydrocarbons before 2035, 2040, the earliest. So if that is true, then we better ensure that we not only aggressively invest in the total clean stuff, solar, wind, and maybe even nuclear fusion, but that we also ensure that the hydrocarbons that we will continue to use very aggressively in the world become a lot cleaner, and that we get more out of a barrel of oil. I mean, what I'm saying is, some people say, gee, electric vehicles, that is the future. But imagine that you could have a car that could drive on just 1 liter 50 kilometers or 100 kilometers. Maybe on balance, that is as clean as an electric vehicle car. So we need to ensure that we work on two things: renewables, but also, given the fact that we will continue to work with hydrocarbons, make them much cleaner and cost-effective. Because the world needs cheap, relatively clean energy. And if we want to go to a magical switch on just the environment, then probably the cost implications of that will drive the economy into a recession. So we need a balanced approach. If people are doing too much for the environment, they may lose their jobs. If people focus too much on the economy, the environment will suffer, and that has huge consequences. So, like I said, we need a balanced approach. And in British Columbia, we have a tremendous opportunity in front of us. Now, let me tell you about what that opportunity is. And that is, reach out across the Rockies. We need an innovation gateway between the enormous, productive, clean tech community in British Columbia and the traditional hydrocarbon industry in northeastern BC and Alberta. I mean, we all know that they have problems. They know it. If we could bring our innovation to the traditional hydrocarbon industry, that could be the beginning of the creation of a very powerful new energy ecosystem in Western Canada. And think about it for a moment. If as a result of that, we would be able to export not the dirtiest, but the cleanest oil in the world at a reasonable, cheap price. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Over and above being able to export the technologies that we have developed to do so, also all over the world. That will create a stable economic future in Western Canada. People talk about Western Canada being an energy powerhouse, and to a certain extent it already is. But we have this great opportunity for the future. If we don't do this, what's the downside? Well, there's an example of what the downside is, and that is called paper and pulp in British Columbia. Up till the early 80s, we owned that industry. Why was that? Because we had two very important drivers: cheap labor and cheap energy. And it made us complacent. And the countries that did not have these nice goodies, like Korea or Scandinavia, they had only one solution, that was innovation. And they went for it. And as a result, they now own the paper and pulp industry. And if we don't take that lesson to our energy industry, we could go the same way as McBlow. Let's not do that. Let's really grab this opportunity and build the future energy powerhouse with renewables and better, cleaner hydrocarbons to secure a very strong economy in Western Canada. I beg to differ. I mean, we have on the hydrocarbon side in the world tremendous challenges, but in particular in Alberta and in BC. I mean, we all know that the world looks at our oil in Western Canada not very favorable. We all know that natural gas in BC is actually the marginal player. Below $5 MMBTU as the price in North America, it is not economical to get that gas out of the ground, whatever your government tells you. $5 you need. So we have here two issues: cost and the environment. We need screaming innovation. We have actually a burning platform. Like, look in Alberta, what Suncor already, together with Total, cancelled is upgraded, walked away from hundreds of millions of dollars because the projects are not economical. So imagine that we could turn this around, that through innovation we could, like I said in the Grand Ballroom, that we could go to local field upgrading so that you never transport bitumen. It's comparable to what happened in the steel industry in the late 80s and early 90s, when the industry went to mini mills that became economic. If we could do that, we certainly could have much cleaner oil out of Alberta and no transport of bitumen. Wouldn't that be fantastic? It's all possible, but it's driven by innovation. I mean, we need business leaders who can overcome complacency, who can really welcome innovation, who can overcome the not invented here syndrome. It is we need to get rid of the polarization between clean tech and old tech. It's not very helpful. We need each other. Clean tech needs this too, because that total addressable market, when they move into old industries that are in transformation, changes from a few $100 billion in total worldwide, as it was a decade ago, to now it's on its way to $3 to $4 trillion. This is an enormous opportunity in British Columbia. Already today, the clean tech industry in British Columbia alone employs more people than in oil and gas and forestry in the province combined. So this is a huge opportunity. We have great universities that deliver brilliant people that want to work in this industry and get good jobs. And so the combination of exploiting that industry also to the benefit of the hydrocarbon industry will probably help us on our way to a much cleaner world. The biggest barriers to date were that until a few years ago, whatever happens in clean tech was pure technology push. The technologies were not ready for prime time. People pushed technologies that were not really mature into the hands of early adopter customers who were willing to pay a premium for clean. That now has changed. Technologies are getting so mature that they can simultaneously not add cost but reduce cost while reducing the energy intensity of products or production processes, and at the same time improve the environmental footprint. And all large companies in the world realize that that is a terrific opportunity. I do not know any Fortune 500 company that these days is not looking for a sustainable innovation strategy, because it makes good business sense. It's almost comparable to 10 years ago when everybody suddenly wanted to have an internet strategy. That now has become part of the normal way of doing business, and so will this. It will become the future normative. It's in our hometown, one of the largest energy and environmental conferences in the world. It brings together a platform for discussion. And what I find very interesting today at Globe is that what I just said about crossing bridges between pure renewables and oil and gas companies, power companies, chemical companies, that is what you see here. They need each other. They need each other. And I'm very happy that the discussion takes place here. Together at Globe, we are working on shaping the energy economy of the future.